morning. This is the Eager Beaver Show.
You are listening to a True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated podcast. The True North Eager Beaver podcasts are proudly brought to you by our founding sponsors, the Misfit Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, your source for science fiction, fantasy, and cozy mysteries featuring a broad diversity of characters, CanadianTarot.com, your uniquely Canadian online eclectic tarot community, and the Peppermaster, hot pepper sauces made from farm-fresh ingredients to thrill your taste buds and expand your mind. Well, good morning and hello, kids and cubs, and welcome to season 4 and episode number 505 of the Daily Beaver Morning Show here on the Cryo Media Network. Yeah. Today, recording day is Monday, November 4th, 2024. Have no idea what kind of day it's going to be at the Beaver Lodge, but it's a very nice, clear morning so far here. I'm your host, the Eager Beaver, pronouns he, him, hey, Mr. Beaver, eh? And with me, as always, is my good friend, Mr. Grizzly, to whom I owe a huge, huge, huge thank you because last week, Mr. Grizzly held down the fort for 4 straight days and did the conference all by himself because the morning before the conference, while Mr. Grizzly was sleeping, somewhere around 1:30 in the morning, I came down with a pretty nasty fever that lasted 48 straight hours, and I was in bed for 4 straight days, feeling a little more human on Friday and Saturday and yesterday. Yesterday was about the closest to myself I felt, but sluggish and whatnot. So with no notice whatsoever, we basically woke up and saw the email or the text. He knew he was going to be alone. So thank you. Very
All
grateful
good.
for you. Glad you did it. It means a lot because it was a project that we had together, and because of illness, it just got all dumped on you with 30 minutes notice. So by the time you woke up to see it, so I am grateful, very, 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 very grateful.
I just regret I
thank you
wasn't
to all
well
the
enough
kids
to
and
attend
cubs.
day 3.
No,
It was
I'm
only
sorry
a
to hear you
partial
weren't well
day,
enough.
but it was like it was a bad day for me. It was, when your
Yeah.
anxiety is peaking and you're feeling depressed at the same time, it's like I can't go to a room full of 2,000 people and speak to anybody. I will be an obnoxious asshole.
Yeah.
Because your guard is up the whole time, right? So it's like that's why I couldn't attend day
Right.
3.
No, that makes sense.
It was the right call.
So yeah. So obviously, I'm very, very disappointed because I was very, very, very much looking forward to helping and participating with that, and our first sort of remote thing. But there will be other opportunities because clearly the technology works well.
Worked out well.
I saw the interviews, and good job there.
Well, one of the cool things was I grabbed my backpack and I set it up, and one of the individuals I was talking to was like, what's so cool is you don't need to carry 100 pounds of gear anymore. I said, I could have brought big camera rigs in and everything, but I go, you know what? This camera on my phone on a tripod, we can see ourselves in frame, and I've got 2 wireless mics here. This is perfect. And the lighting where we were was good because I didn't bring any lighting.
Yes.
And trust me, I scouted out places where we could do it, and I found other places where the lighting was better. However, there was lots of people moving around, and it was loud. So it's like I found the
Mhm.
quietest spot with the best lighting where there was hardly anybody going to be moving by. So yeah, and there were people
Mm.
sitting right
No, the
beside
view
us
was
too.
great.
Yeah,
Oh,
I just
cool.
kept them out of
Wow.
frame. So
Good stuff. Good stuff. No,
thanks.
very well done. Thank you so much. Kids and Cubs, it's going to be a short one today because it's one of those 9 a.m. curling Mondays. So it'll be a quick in and out. But before we do anything, Mr. Grizzly, how's your mental health today, sir?
Surprisingly good, considering we just changed the clocks. Usually I'm a complete and utter mess, but I woke up at 5 this morning because technically my body's saying, dude, it's 6. Get up. I woke up at 5 and I'm lying in bed, and Lola had crawled in beside me at some point in the evening. I'm like, oh, hello. She's like, so I lied there till 5:30, and I'm like, oh, this is ridiculous. So I just got up because I wasn't going back to sleep. So just get up and let's go do the thing, and get this prepped and see what the world will bring us today. Because whoo boy,
Mm, yeah, there's a lot going on. And I got a little recapping to do and all
oh,
that
there's
kind of
stuff that
stuff.
I
So,
need to touch on as
uh,
well. Yeah, that I didn't get to last week.
yeah,
So
there's lots of stuff. But before we go any further, Kids and Cubs, just wanted to say that this week marks the official beginning of Veterans
yes,
Week.
oh, I got to get my poppy
So,
too.
yes. So the 11th will be Remembrance Day. Remember, we're the 4th now. We're working on an activity with Kit Hugh, with a very special interview with a veteran. So please mark your calendars because hopefully we will have something really nice for you on the 11th to mark Remembrance Day this year. But just wanted to give a shout out to our veterans, those who are still with us and those who are not, for all of their sacrifice, especially since we're very heavily in an election season and we're doing all the things for which they fought.
Yes, exercising our right to vote. You know, there's an older generation, uh, and it's not boomers. Boomers will sometimes refer to it as well in that manner, but it's the generation prior to boomers, the parents of the boomers, which they called the greatest generation, which a generation that sacrificed more, certainly, without question, because they went through the war,
Mhm.
and in many cases, 2 wars. That generation used to say voting is a privilege. You should take that up and make sure you go out and exercise that privilege. A lot of people don't have that. And I'm like, well, there was a time when that was true, but it's been enshrined in our rights in this country. Voting is a right in Canada, period. Whether you choose to exercise that right or not is up to you. I hope you do.
Right.
I hope you do. I really do. Even if you vote for somebody I don't care for, I just hope you get out and vote. I hope you don't vote for a conservative, but only because they're not progressive conservatives. They're Reform Party with a new name, and you know.
Right.
But I'll never tell you how to vote. But please don't vote conservative.
We'll beg you not to vote for certain people, but we will not tell you.
Vote for whomever you wish. Please don't vote conservative. It goes against your own
And
best
don't vote
interest.
for assholes. And don't
Well,
vote for
that too.
assholes. Don't reward assholes, regardless of party stripe. They're just let them do what they do somewhere else, far away from the purse strings and power over other people. All right, and the other little thing, Kids and Cubs, it is also a financial literacy month this month. So there will be activities all throughout the month, but things will be getting kicked off today with Olympic gold medalist Bruni Surin,
Oh, okay.
who will be teaming up with UK Money and Pension Service Chair Sarah Weller to host an event on the virtual media circuit for the 14th annual Financial Literacy Month. They say it's an event that will, quote, bring together people and organizations that share a commitment to advancing financial literacy. And that will happen at 1:15 p.m. today. So if you want to search through that to see Bruni, who's always delightful and wonderful, participate in that, that would be a good move today. And a little financial literacy never hurt him. All right, we've got a lot to speed through today, Kits and Cubs, because I missed all of last week. So it's going to be a little bit of a recap on stuff. Maybe not too much new for
Dan.
today. Dan. Please vote for assholes in War 15. Yes. So don't vote for assholes except for Kit Dan.
Exactly.
There's an exception to
And
every
Dan,
rule.
sorry I didn't get in touch with you over the
Wink.
weekend. I got really swamped. I had a lot on the plate, and I had a few deadlines I had to reach. I worked till 10 o'clock on Friday. We will have a call if you have time this evening, sir. I don't know. I can't remember if you have a debate tonight or not. If you have time this evening, remember I do my ASMR at 9. So if you got an hour or two before that, we can have a chat. We want to talk more about, because Canadian Alliance to End Homelessness just ended last week, their conference.
Right.
And we didn't have a chance. We wanted to get Dan in, but we tried to bring him in live, but it just wasn't working. So we're going to pre-record a segment for this week.
Okay, cool. And I hopefully will get one of the organizers of the conference at some point, because we were hoping to meet up with them on the spot. And, well, I wasn't there, so we couldn't do that.
I was a little overwhelmed because one day I had 2 conferences to attend and a meeting.
I know.
Yeah, it was a very busy week for me, and I'm not used to that anymore. It's been a few months since I've been running at that pace, so it took all out of me.
Oh yeah, absolutely. All right, kits and cubs, lots to happen. First of all, Saskatchewan had an election. I wasn't there to give you the recap. But as you all know, the Saskatchewan Party got a 5th consecutive majority term, way slimmer majority. Scott Moe did the same thing that all premiers do in a case like this, which is we've heard the people of Saskatchewan, and we will do better, which is pure unadulterated bullshit, because there's no reason for which he couldn't have been hearing the people of Saskatchewan for the 4 years previous, and also doing stuff for them. So that's pretty much a crock. Well, Scott Moe is not going to change. No, let's be serious. He's not going to change. And even though it's a very slim majority, we know in conservative land, they do elections have consequences thing, and it doesn't matter if they win by 0.001 or they win by 1 million. They govern as if they won by 1 million. So he will consider this a strong, firm mandate. I mean, technically, it's a majority government. It is, even though it's not as firm as it was before. I don't know if there will be any rumblings inside the party to maybe get rid of him, because it is another majority government, but he is emerging weaker within his own party as a result of it. So we'll see what happens there. The good news for kits is that we had a kit who was doing democracy, who had ran for something. If you've been with us for a while, you might recognize Kit Hugh Gordon, or one of the 2 boys, as we call them, from the Live from Albertistan podcast, which I haven't heard much from lately. I don't know if they are still doing it. He might have had to suspend that while he was campaigning. But he was in a very, 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 very close riding that was going back and forth in over the course of the night, and it was tied at some points too, and then at other points he was trailing. And it's the riding of Saskatoon Silver Spring. And over the course of the evening, near the end, with 2 polls left, Mr. Hugh Gordon took the lead and then did not relinquish it in the riding. So I will put this up over here. That's Hugh Gordon here with Carla Beck. Very handsome, dashing young man, of course. Knows more, has forgotten more about politics than I know. Extremely passionate about the subject. I could just give him one question, and then he could go on for half an hour before I could create a system. Not create a system, but find a moment to slide in another question. He can just really go on and give you every single little detail. He's fascinating to listen to. So, yes, he won his electoral district. So we now have a Kit MLA among us. So hopefully we will be able to have him on the show relatively soon to congratulate him. But of course, when you win, there's a lot of things that happen, especially when you defeat an incumbent cabinet minister in order to do that. Way to go, Kid Hugh. So I'm sure that he is getting all his orientation and on all of his briefings and all of that good stuff. So it'll still be a little bit before we're able to have him on the show. But when we do, I'm sure it's going to be a great conversation. And just to show you how close it was, he got 4,330 votes, and his rival got 3,934. So it was fairly close. I mean, at the end, when you count in the mail-in ballots and all the others, his lead expanded a little bit. But it was way closer. It was like within 200 votes at one point. So, yes, Kitland M, slowly but surely the kits will take over the world. Yay! Kit C, PNC Bio. Douglas's overage of economics has gotten steadily better since I first started watching. He may not be financially literate, but he's economically literate. Why, thank you so much, good sir. That's quite a compliment. I have put a lot of work into trying to understand the economic stuff, given that it's so central to pretty much everything that we do. So I appreciate that compliment, and I know that Kit Vim gives me some compliments now and then when we have to deal with economic stuff. So thank you.
not necessarily my strong point either. I hated economics in school. I mean, I understood it, but it bored the hell out of me. And if it's boring, you just don't have the way my brain works. Is if I'm bored, I have no interest in learning it. So there were subjects in school that I'm just like, this is a waste of my time. I want nothing to do with it, and I just daydream because the ADHD brain, which I didn't know I had at the time. But yeah, it's studying economics it's really dry. But here's the thing: I like tech, and tech is really dry. So it's what interests
Exactly.
you, right? I'm good at tech because I find it fascinating and interesting. I don't care to learn to write code because that's not my milieu. I don't enjoy writing code. I've written scripts, and that's fine. But economics was never my strong suit because it just bored the hell out of me.
Yeah, I find economics pretty dry too. But like you, I'm, the word when you said fascinated, that was the word that was going on in my head. I'm just I'm fascinated with money, but not like I want money. So I can like buy a yacht or something. I'm just fascinated with how malleable it is, right? All the ways that you can manipulate it and twist it and work it and make it work, and the products and what you can do with it and what you can't do with it.
But do remember
it.
this: the system is designed to keep you down, right?
Oh, yes.
The system until very recently, within the last 15 years, there were not tools available to a working class person to invest. They just didn't exist.
Right.
Because 20 years ago, if I wanted to invest, okay, E-Trade with a minimum investment of $20,000. I don't have $20,000 to invest.
Right.
If I had $20,000, I'd get my teeth fixed. Things like that. But now you can open up a Wealthsimple account and buy fractal shares in whatever company, which is what I've slowly been doing over time. Just $50 here, $50 there, $100. When I can put a little bit more in, I do, so that I can watch some companies that I think are good and will pay dividends. I'll slowly buy into. Am I making any money? I've lost a little here, won some there. It's white collar gambling is what it is. But I've got a TFSA through them, which is a growth account, and it's done quite well. So, there's tools available to working class and minimum wage folks now that did not exist 20 years ago. Hell, some of them didn't exist 10 years ago. So, there's a reason to be less interest in finance and economics because you were simply out of that game. You didn't qualify, and the rules were put up in place to keep you out. Wealthsimple has democratized things so that anybody with a phone and a bank account can invest. And literally that's all it takes today.
Yep. I'm personally with Questrade, and I've been very happy, and I've got a tax-free savings account too. Because one of the only good things that Harper did. So when he started that, I opened one right away.
The TFSA is
Thank you very much. Mama didn't raise no fool when it comes to finances.
A friend of mine who is an economist, he told me the TFSA is one of the best things ever created for the Canadian public when it comes to saving. Period.
Yep.
It's like, sure, you're limited to what you can put in each year, but it's accumulated over time.
Right. And if you don't make a contribution, the contribution
That's
rule
correct.
remains. in
Yeah.
any given year.
So it's like
So it's good to open one when you can, even if you can't contribute it, because maybe at some point in your life you will have higher earning years and you can
Start
just really
dump it in.
dump
Yeah.
money in there because you've created the
Well,
margin.
and that's the thing is because I've had to, through rough times, I've had to empty my TFSA to keep afloat. People go, oh, you're gonna. I go, I'm not gonna affect me at all. Why not? Because I've never even maxed out what I can put into it. I still have that
Exactly.
cap room.
Yeah, and that's what people have to make sure be careful about it when you have one. Is if you take some money out that year, you can put it back, but you can't put it back in the same
No.
calendar year. The contribution room opens up the next year. So there's some people that take money out one year and put the money back in the same year, and then they realize they get dinged. You can't do it in the same year unless you have contribution room.
Well, and one of the things that I've discovered, and let's go on an economic rabbit hole here, if you will. One of the things I've discovered is that the way the system was designed years ago was you need a minimum investment of this. I'm like, well, that's just an insurmountable fun for so many people. But something Cassie just said here, and I'm going to look at this and say, listen, invest early in your kids' RESPs if you can. I put away $25 a week from time mine was born and parents matched. Here's the thing, $25 a week into an account that will have interest.
For 18 years.
But they don't, they tell you, oh no, you need to invest. You got to start with 5,000 and you got to, I'm like, who the hell has that?
No.
That's the thing though. I read a book years ago and I still have it. I'm going to reread it because it was.
Start with something. It's like exercise.
Start small and work.
Even if the first 5 minutes is 5 minutes more than you were doing before, it's a win.
You know, math is hard, at least the way I was taught it. However, structural economics, bring it on from Mademoiselle Fox. Yeah.
Right.
And that's the thing, the rule of 72, compound interest, those things, they don't teach you that in school.
Nope.
And they should. They do not teach financial literacy in high school. Home economics. You know what we did in home economics? We made pancakes. Yep. They didn't teach us how to budget. They left the economics part out of the home.
Right. Same here.
They taught us recipes. I'm like, but I already do all these things at home. They're like, what? 14 years old, I was working in the kitchen as a sous chef.
Yep. They forgot about the entire budgeting.
They don't teach that.
Economics part.
They literally didn't. When I was in school, maybe some of the kids and cubs can tell us if they were taught differently, but I wasn't. Now, I went to 3 different high schools. So.
Yeah. Yeah. So, economics, lots of fun things.
Yeah.
So there you go. And like, you're right. Mr. Grizzly, there are a whole bunch of other products right now. So it's way more fascinating now for the average person, way more interesting because it was just something that rich people in fancy suits talked about at parties,
exactly,
cocktails.
Exactly. Oh, the market.
Who's your guy? Oh, my guy.
Oh, yes, my guy. My guy invested in this, and look at this. So I have to head over to London, you see, and while I'm there, I shall invest in some additional markets around the world. Bad news just came across my feed. Some sad news, if you will. Quincy Jones, 91 years of age, passed away.
Yeah. Oh, no.
Yeah. It was updated.
Oh, no, not Quincy Jones.
1 hour ago. Yeah, multi-talented music titan whose vast legacy ranged from producing Michael Jackson's historic Thriller album to writing prize-winning film and television scores and collaborating with Frank Sinatra, Ray Charles, and hundreds of other recording artists, has died at 91. Mm-hmm. Everybody called him Q. That was his nickname. It came from Frank Sinatra.
Yes.
Quincy Jones, producer, musician, composer, just an incredibly talented individual who leaves us at the age of 91. And I feel bad for his daughter, Rashida Jones, because they were very close.
Oh, yeah, I love her.
They were very, very close.
She's funny. She's great. Hell too. She's a great comedic actress, especially physical comedy. Yeah, no, Quincy Jones, The Color Purple is one of my favorite movies, and he did the score for that. I think he did the score for both of them, actually. The recent one that came out too.
He kept company with presidents and foreign leaders, movie stars and musicians, philanthropists and business leaders. He toured with Count Basie and Lionel Hampton, arranged records for Sinatra and Ella Fitzgerald, composed the soundtracks for Roots and In the Heat of the Night, organized President Clinton's first inaugural celebration, and oversaw the all-star recording of We Are the World.
Mm-hmm. And when it comes to, you were mentioning Frank Sinatra, who had given Quincy Jones the name Q. Quincy Jones is actually on the record as saying that Frank Sinatra stopped all of the
Yes.
racism in Vegas in 1964, specifically when it came to Quincy Jones. He says, "You are going to put this man on the stage, and you are going to listen to him, and you are going to applaud enthusiastically. Do you
Well,
understand me?"
they wouldn't. At one point in time, he was there with Sir Duke. Shit. Can't think of Sir Duke's proper name, but that's what Duke Ellington. Thank you. He was with Duke Ellington, and he discovered, and he didn't know this because, you're a white man, so it's going to pass you by. You got a blind spot. Duke Ellington was not allowed to eat in the dining room. He's like, "Where's Duke?" Oh, no. He had to eat in the kitchen with the staff. And he says, "Nope. That ends right here, right now, or I'm leaving." Sinatra basically ended segregation in Vegas. That is a fact. It's well documented, and a lot of people have come out to praise him for that. He's like, "These are my friends. These are my fellow musicians. These are my fellow performers. These are people I admire and
Sammy
respect."
Davis
Yeah, exactly.
Jr.?
Sammy was his brother from
Hello?
another mother.
Right.
You could not have had two closer people in that industry at that time as Frank and Sammy. So, yeah. No, he ended it.
And they all admired Sammy. They were all saying, like, he's the most talented one
Correct.
of all of us. It's like he can sing, he can
do it
dance, he
all.
does it all.
Well, and Sammy's nickname from Frank was Smokey because he smoked a lot of cigarettes. And
Yes.
he married a white Norwegian woman. And when that happened, Frank said, "I love you, Smokey, but they're going to kill you for this one." And it did. It affected his career. But Frank fought to keep him in the spotlight. Look, say all the bad things you want about Frank Sinatra, you can't, but he did a lot of good. It's called nuance. We all have good and bad. It's yin and yang. He did a lot of good for race relations to put an end to segregation, for what is it, the NAACP. Like, he was he saw people for who they were and not the color of their skin. So anyway.
Yes. Yep, indeed. All right. So to finish off on everything, I think that's pretty much everything on Saskatchewan. So we have Hugh Gordon. We hopefully will have him on the show. Scott Moe gets a 5th term. We'll see if his day one priority actually is to affect the change rooms, like he said
I
during
was
the campaign.
disappointed in the results in Saskatchewan, but I fully accept them. It's a democratic process. I know that the elections, there's no fraud. It doesn't happen.
No.
Whereas in BC, because the conservative side lost, they're screaming fraud. I'm like, do you not see a pattern here? If I don't win, it's because you cheated.
Like normally I would say that the result was humbling for the Sask party.
They actually gained seats.
The conservative movement, the global conservative movement.
Yes.
No,
sorry, the NDP gained seats and Sask party lost a few.
Yes, that's why I say it would be a humbling experience for the Sask party. But these parties are incapable of feeling shame anymore. So, I mean, there's and feeling humbled and
I don't
whatnot.
think they know what the word means.
Who knows? Exactly. Now, Carla Beck definitely will be staying on, clearly, because this was a great result for the party. They are closer than they have ever been. And this may have led to some very interesting public polling results that I saw the other day. Ecos, I believe it has recently done a poll, and Polling Canada had picked up something because they had noticed.
I'll give you a time out. If you're going to talk about polls, I'm going to grab a coffee.
Okay, sure thing. They have it divided by regions, and one of the regions they have is Saskatchewan and Manitoba. And according to Ecos, and a lot of people are wondering if this is an outlier, it says for federal polling, Saskatchewan and Manitoba, that the Liberals have 43% of voting intentions. The Conservatives have 34%. The NDP 18%, the Greens 4%, and the PPC 2%. And we're sitting there, it's like, well, I mean, the West has completely abandoned the Liberals. How could the Liberals possibly be leading in Saskatchewan and Manitoba? So this caught the attention of a lot of people. Now, at first, it seems very counterintuitive, but it is possible if you look at the fact that provincially, Manitoba has gone NDP for Wab Kinew, and they're really, 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 really liking him right now. And maybe that has translated federally as moving away from the Conservatives. And in Saskatchewan, well, we just saw right now provincially, the Saskatchewan Party, or the CPC equivalent there, take a pretty big hit. Not enough to put it into minority to lose, but still a pretty big hit. Maybe this is reflecting, maybe the progressive vote federally is still coalescing around the Liberal Party, not the NDP. And this would explain what's going on in these two Western provinces on a federal basis. Now, I am not going to run to the bank with this, because this could very much well be quite the outlier. But it's not necessarily as silly or as funny as it first appears. There might be something to this. So yeah, keep your eyes peeled, kits and cubs. This is around the time we're now within 1 year of the calendar date of the fixed election date law. So this would be the time that polls will start to narrow. The other narrowing trend that's been very interesting as well is it seems that Nanos, as a pollster specifically, has been noticing something that other firms may not be picking up. Now, when I'm comparing firms from, most Nanos reports every week, but there are some that are that they report much further back. So when I'm looking at, for example, one poll that put something out in September and just put something out now, there is a consistent trend that the gap is narrowing, but not as much as it was for Nanos. Nanos, a couple of weeks ago at the end of September, had the Conservatives, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, with a 20-point lead over the Conservatives, uh, which is a lot. And we still have some pollsters come in, and like Abacus and Angus Reid, who had some polls come out just this last week, still showing a 22-point lead for the Conservatives over the Liberals. But other than those two, one would like you to take a look at this, kits and cubs, that I'm going to share with you. And I think you'll see what I mean here. So here we have these two here, the Angus Reid and the Abacus data that just came out on the 20th and 25th of October, showing 22. But they're pretty much outliers, because here we're seeing Conservatives plus 12, plus 13, plus 13, plus 16. And if we're going back in time, 17, 21, 28, 18. So the margin is narrowing. The plus 13 here that we see from Nanos on October 18th is the closest margin that we've seen in a poll going back to August for Nanos. So there is something happening here. And if we're looking at Nanos specifically, on September 27th, they're showing CPC plus 20. On October 4th, they're showing CPC plus 18. On October 11th, they're showing CPC plus 16. On October 18th, CPC plus 13. October 25th, also plus 13. That's a 7-point narrowing of the gap in less than a month. Something may be happening. So I just wanted to bring that attention to your attention, because if you notice that certain parties or certain politicians may be acting as if they have a little bit more panic than normal, maybe there are some internal polling numbers that have indicated to them that they have something to worry about, because the public ones are definitely showing a narrowing, and a pretty significant one rather quickly. So just wanted to bring that to your attention, kits and cubs. A couple of other things that have been happening. As you know, kits and cubs, we mentioned that Yves-François Blanchet has come out and stated specifically that he started talking with other parties about bringing the government down. Now, this is not a particularly serious effort. This is what I want to tell you right now. So please don't start panicking. The NDP has pretty much neutralized that by coming out on the record and saying that there will be pretty much nothing happening this calendar year. Right. The other thing is that the Bloc Québécois is probably relieved by that, because Quebec happens to be one of the provinces in the nation that least desires an election right now. So for the Bloc Québécois to actually be seen as fighting for one when the Québécois just don't want one, it's probably not good for the Bloc Québécois. So they get to stand up for one day, pose, take a picture, posture, take a picture, preen and prance, take a picture, and then it disappears because the NDP says, no, we won't be doing that. Right? The Bloc Québécois sent a letter to the leaders of the other two parties stating that it will now vote to take down the government on any confidence motion. In the letter, they made it clear to the Conservative Party, however, that any motion that the Conservatives present that mentions either carbon tax or has something against secularism or has some type of language provision will not be acceptable to the Bloc. Anyway, they also asked the Conservatives to put an end to its filibuster, the one that's going on right now that's, blocking everything from moving forward in the House, so that the opportunity to vote against the confidence motion could be had, or to vote for the confidence motion can be had, which is a very convenient request for the Bloc, considering that it squandered its own opposition day motion a couple of days ago or a couple of weeks ago, saying basically passed a motion to get all the parties to agree to the terms that the Bloc wanted the Liberals to agree with them with, which was a complete waste of the motion because they already said if you don't do it by the 29th, we're voting against you. So there was no need of. So the Bloc Québécois isn't really serious about this because they squandered their motion and they don't have one to present for the rest of this calendar year, which is why they have to negotiate with other parties. And that's why how they're trying to tell the Conservatives, well, yeah, if you present one, we'll do it, but you got to do it our way. Let us run your party from the Bloc Québécois benches, which was not going to go over very well in the Conservative benches whatsoever. So, Monsieur Blanchet is basically the political equivalent of the horror movie character Jigsaw.
Yeah.
Right now from Saw. He's basically he's taking great delight in putting people in very uncomfortable positions. So, for example, for him coming out and saying that that's it, well, that, like, we're going to take him down and the Conservatives want to take him down, that puts all the pressure on Jagmeet Singh. Now, right? The Bloc Québécois gets a free pass on voting however it wants because, well, they said that they're willing to take the government down. So that puts all the pressure on Jagmeet Singh, which of course Jagmeet Singh is not going to do because, well, one, they're not doing well in the polls. They don't have the money to run an election at the moment. They don't have all their candidates nominated. Neither do the Liberals. So the Conservatives are the furthest ahead on that. So, I mean, they're not ready yet. None of the parties are ready, so it's not happening. But it puts, by the Blanchet coming out so quickly and saying, okay, yeah, 29th has happened. We're going to be voting against the guy, places Jagmeet Singh in a very uncomfortable position. It's writing to the Conservative leader and say, well, hey, we're willing to do that, but you got to present a clean resolution. That puts Pierre Poilievre in a weird position, turning around and said, oh, Liberals, you didn't want to break the bank take on an extra $3 billion a year cost in order to get 6 extra weeks of life.
Mm.
I mean, that was an uncomfortable position. It wasn't going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And now, we're going to vote to take you down. So Monsieur Blanchet likes to take the leaders of the three parties and treat them like they're Play-Doh and mold them into a shape like this, and then tie them together and hand them a saw. Say, now you deal with this.
Let's see what happens.
Right. So that's basically what's going on here. But he's not serious about any of this.
Of course
because he decapitated his own power to be able to bring down the government, rather foolishly. The NDP has made it clear that it will not vote on any motion of confidence presented by the Conservatives. So if the NDP is going to go down, they're going to go down on their own motion that they present, and hopefully other people will vote for it. So if the NDP is not going to vote for any Conservative motion whatsoever, because Jagmeet Singh can't be seen as doing Pierre's work, and the Bloc Québécois is not going to vote for any conservative motion that has some weird hyperbolic poison pill language on it. It's not happening anytime soon. It's just not happening anytime soon. So you can all breathe freely. We're going to have a fall economic update at some point once the Conservatives decide to stop preventing themselves from bringing down the government as well. Because all the time that this filibuster thing that they're doing on the green fund thing, which there is nothing to look at because the Auditor General went through it. And if there's something wrong, the Auditor General takes their findings and gives them to the RCMP and says, you need to research this. The Auditor General did not do that because there's nothing criminal going on. But the Conservatives really want you to believe that there are. Now, the problem with that green fund is that there are documents that the Liberal government has been ordered to table to the House. Problem is that the Conservatives want to gain possession of those documents to then be able to take those documents and give them to the RCMP and saying, you need to investigate this. When everybody has said there's no criminality. You can't do that under Canadian law.
No.
You can't demand, a political party cannot demand that the government release documents so that another political party can take them and give them to a third party. The documents have to be released to other parties for work that the parties want to do within the confines of the House of Commons rules, Parliament rules. So the Conservatives are asking for something illegal, and they're holding up the entirety of Parliament and all the business of the nation. They've taken us all hostage in order to get the government to do something illegal. Well, actually, not to do something illegal, to release the papers with which the Conservatives plan to do something illegal.
Right.
They plan to give that documentation to the RCMP, who has told them outright, don't do this because we can't use it.
Kind of like how
unconstitutional.
Pierre Poilievre keeps insisting that the Prime Minister can release the names of the foreign interference when he can't do that. Poilievre knows this, but he ignores it and says, oh, he can. He absolutely can. No, he can't. It's against the law.
Right.
He'd be prosecuted. It's secret files. He cannot do that.
Exactly.
And Poilievre even got called out by it from Patrice Roy on Radio Canada last week, and we highlighted it on this show. So it's just more of the same. Asking you to do something you're not allowed to do for the benefit of me, screw you.
Yeah. And Elizabeth May has made it very, 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 very clear now, yes, that the Prime Minister of Canada does get the top secret clearance by right.
Yes.
So Pierre Poilievre is doing the same thing that Donald Trump did a few years ago with his taxes. It's not mandatory that you get your security clearance. It's not mandatory that you release your taxes, but everybody has. Donald Trump wouldn't. Why? Pierre won't get a security clearance. Why?
Somebody got something to hide.
Right? Now, if the Conservatives really want to take down the government on a confidence motion, they have to let go of their motion of privilege to be able to do that. Or somebody has to say, hey, we're going to suspend this motion of privilege thing in order to discuss this particular legislation, because the government has to ask for it, and then at least another party has to agree with it. And so far, none of the other parties have been agreeing with it either. So all the parties right now, by not even agreeing to temporarily suspend the motion of privilege, dominating everything so that they can pass another thing. So none of these parties, whether it's Bloc, whether it's New Democrat, or whether it's Conservative, who are screaming, we have to get rid of this government, are actually doing a damn thing to actually get rid of this government. They're making sure that there's no laws passed so nothing can get better for you and me.
Of course. They just want to stall. They're like the Congress, stall everything. Vote
And they're
against
using-
everything to stall it.
And they're using all of Parliament again as another backdrop for public relations. They're misappropriating public funds in order to mount a public relations campaign.
Well, let's once again hammer on Pierre Poilievre to get a security clearance, because have you seen this from Ms. May? I'll put this on the screen right now. This was on her website, elizabethmaymp.ca. And I'm going to read this. It's on the screen, but I'll read it for the audio version only. Basically, these are the breadcrumbs in plain sight. The Parliamentary Committee on Foreign Interference mentions allegations the Indian government interfered in the Conservative Party leadership race that Poilievre won. If he owes any favors to the Modi government, that could explain why he does not want to ask for clearance, just in case CSIS were to decide he should not get it. As Prime Minister, he would receive it automatically, so voters only have before the election to demand he get clearance, or at least attempt to receive it. I can only ask questions at this point. I'm not alleging he is beholden to the Modi government, but it would explain his reluctance.
Now remember, as Prime Minister, he would receive it automatically.
Right.
So that is why I keep on saying, legislatures, don't berate, legislate. Pass a law
where he has to have
that says that all party leaders of parties that have seats represented in the House must get the top security clearance. Pass a second law, or in this law, also saying revoking.
Correct.
The thing that says that the Prime Minister gets it by right.
Well, here's the concern. Okay, there's a huge concern here, and it has implications that nobody seems to understand outside of certain areas of government and security. If Poilievre were to win the next election, we have a potentially compromised individual that now has access to top secret files.
And our allies will be aware of it and will not share information with us.
That's exactly what I was going to say. All of our allies, the Five Eyes, forget it. You get Canada, you're out. You're out. He has not been cleared. He gets it automatically because of the position he's in. You're out. Now, understand that the United States of America, if Trump gets in, he's going to get it automatically as well. But they won't kick him out. They won't kick the USA out because they're the most powerful nation on earth with the largest military might ever known to man and women, and they, them. Got to be inclusive, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it's simple. Canada, they'll give us the boot in a heartbeat. They don't give a shit. We don't need you. We will be locked out of the Five Eyes. Our national security will be jeopardized and scrutinized forever because we have a man in power who does not have his clearance. He gets it automatically by ascending to that position. We need to change that rule and say you still need to pass.
Yeah. And conversely, you've got other people going, oh, well, see, Trudeau got it by right. No. Every single prime minister ever since we've had that National Security Act has been getting it by right.
Automatically.
Because the Westminster system relies on the honor system.
Mm-hmm.
But that harkens back to a day when people were able to feel shame. We're not in that era anymore, so we cannot rely on the honor system anymore. The prime minister of a G7 country should not be getting top secret level clearance by right.
No.
They should have to qualify for it.
You know, it was different 100 years ago, but now we all have surveillance cameras in our home, whether you realize it or not. What the hell do you think this is? They can easily access if they need to. We give our information to private corporations, whether it's Google or Apple or Samsung or whichever. We give access to everything when we sign up and activate the phone. So we're all under surveillance, whether you like it or not. You say, well, they're not supposed to do that. Corporations signed an agreement with you. Whether or not they hand that over to governments is a different question, and one that I don't have an answer for. But you do need to understand that in today's society, you're photographed probably 1,000 times a day and you don't even know it. Wherever you go, there's surveillance cameras everywhere. What corporations do with that information? Don't know. Do they hand it over to the police? When the police request it, if there's been a crime committed in that area and there's probably footage of it? Oh yeah, that happens. Does it go to the federal government? Don't know. Does it go to the provincial government? Don't know. I don't even know if it hits the municipal level, but it does go to the police. And if they need to pass it up the chain to the RCMP and on to CSIS and CSE, they would do so. But don't kid yourself if you think that when a crime is committed that facial recognition software isn't running in the background algorithm to discover if there was anybody involved that's on a watch list. It takes place. It happens. So now we're going to hand over the keys to Parliament Hill to a man who refuses to get his security clearance, knowing that he'd get it automatically if he becomes prime minister. Do you realize how freaking dangerous that is? He can just hand over the country, kind of like what, Stephen Harper tried to do, and to a certain degree did. He handed us over to China for 31 years when he signed the FIPA agreement in private, in private, under lock and key in Moscow. Does that not paint a picture for you of what the hell? What the hell?
Well,
What
all right.
the hell?
I've got way too much for the time that we have, kids and kids.
Well, I want to pivot back to homelessness for a moment here, if we can.
Yes.
I have something I want to read to you that is, well, I'm going to read it and then I'm going to tell you who wrote it. And this is kind of disappointing. You see somebody in the public eye and you think usually good things about them, and then you read this. So I'll tell you who wrote this after I read it to you.
Okay.
If you're wondering what it's like to live in Toronto, this is my neighborhood. We learned this week that the city is secretly planning to build an 80-bed men's shelter in our community. It will be across from a small plaza with a daycare and a family restaurant, and 2 blocks from Blantyre Public School. There are no services in this area. There is nowhere for 80 unhoused men to go when they are not sleeping in the shelter. The councillor for the area, Parith Kandival, was just as surprised as the community to learn of the city's plan. There has been no communication with the neighborhood, no risk assessment. In fact, the whole thing is a secret. Olivia Chow was asked about it, and instead of assuring the neighborhood their concerns would be heard, she bemoaned the fact that the neighborhood was tipped off. These things are supposed to be secret, so no one can oppose them. I understand if you don't give a toss because it's not your neighborhood. Be warned, there are 19 more shelters in the work, and furthermore, the city doesn't care what you think. They have an agenda. The less you know, the better. Enjoy your 10% property tax increase. So NIMBY, like classic NIMBY, right?
Mm-hmm.
Total classic NIMBY.
Although that was an unfortunate statement by Olivia Chow.
Yes, but here's the thing. It's Mayor Chow says new shelter locations must be kept confidential, and I can understand why.
The locations, yes. That we're doing it, no.
The locations, yes, because there's potential for danger, right?
Right.
And we don't know. Have these men come from abusive backgrounds? Were they abused by their spouse or their parents or a priest or a hockey coach? We don't know. But here's the thing. You know who wrote that?
Who?
TSN's own Jennifer Hedger.
Okay.
Well, I'm just disappointed in her. I didn't realize she hated those who were lesser than her. Guy Felicello's comment, I'm glad there's a shelter going up. By the way, it's not your neighborhood, it's everyone's.
Yes, that's a good point. All right, kids and cubs, one last thing before we go here. Mr. Grizzly, there's a little video here. With regard to the Green Fund, one little thing to mention, the Conservatives filibuster. Every time there's a clock, there's an amount of time that they're allowed to do that, but they can reset it to 0 by proposing an amendment to their motion. They've done this twice already. Just so you know, so this thing would have expired, and they've kept it going by introducing amendments to keep it going. Now, the other thing that's been happening because it's the mutiny that we're talking about.
Yes.
The rebellion is pretty much quashed now, although there are some disorganized, disgruntled factions that are still remaining, still demanding some type of secret ballot, but there exists no mechanism for it because the Liberals never signed on to the Conservatives' Reform Act. So there's some disgruntled people, but they really just have no avenue left to be able to do this. So they'll either have to resign or get with the program here. But the new national campaign director made a presentation that was supposed to happen 2 weeks ago, Wednesday, but that meeting went on for 3 hours, so he never actually got to speak, really. But he made a presentation. It seems that many people really liked what they heard, and he said that ads would be coming soon, and ads have started. 24 people had allegedly signed the letter, but only 12 people apparently want the secret ballot. So this is dying. Now, this little video came out right before I thought this was the first ad, but
Mhm.
turns out it's setting the table for the first ad. So, Mr. Grizzly.
The hard work that got us here as a country made us the best country in the world. If Pierre Poilievre is going around saying that Canada's broken, he's doing that for his own narrow interests because he wants to get elected. Everything that you do by being here in this room, everything that we do as Liberals is focused on making things better for Canadians, on creating good jobs and a good future for everyone. That's the work we get to do. That's why we're pulling together. That's why you all came out tonight, because you want to put up your hands and say, we want to be part of a positive choice for this country. We want to be part of building a better future for the next generations. We're going to put forward those solutions and we're going to fight for them. Like we're going to fight for every vote from coast to coast to coast. Because this country is worth fighting for.
Well, that was interesting. Yeah.
So we got the rallying sort of setting the table.
Mhm.
And this is the first ad that they've come up with here, Mr. Grizzly.
Bear with me for a second while I load it. Takes a second or two to get it in position. In position. We have it in position. Oh, I have seen this ad actually.
Yes. Apparently
So-
there's two. I haven't seen the second one yet.
I think I showed this week actually.
To strengthening our public healthcare system, the Liberal team is fighting for you. After they secured vaccines to protect Canadians from COVID-19, they made investments to hire more family doctors and reduce wait lists. Now they're rolling out dental care, and they're getting pharmacare done to deliver free contraceptives and diabetes medications. Pierre Poilievre has made it clear that he would make cuts to all these investments, removing healthcare services from millions of Canadians. Canadians need progress, not cuts. We won't go back.
Okay. So the first criticisms, of course, is we won't go back. Oh, they stole from Kamala. Okay. Number one, again, it's not an originality competition. You do what works.
Right.
If you see it work somewhere else, you take it and you do it. That's been the whole conservative playbook for my entire life. The entirety of Pierre Poilievre's platform is Liz Truss's failed economics
Mm-hmm.
and Donald Trump's populism. There's nothing original in his either. But yet only the Liberals get, oh my God, they talked about COVID vaccines again. We're so past that. Like this. It's a good ad.
Mm-hmm.
It's a dry ad, but it's a good ad. It focuses on the topic, healthcare. It's a good way to start. It's not the flashiest one. It's not the one that's going to get your attention. In fact, I liked the 1 minute thing where Justin Trudeau was setting the table more than I liked the ad, to be totally honest. But it seems that there's some fight in the old party left. So
Well-
we'll see what that does.
Regarding the election in the United States this morning, I just saw something come across my feed that is hilarious. He says, I am nauseously optimistic.
Who said that?
John Collins. I don't know who he is, but it's like John Collins. He is a dad, husband, low-key nerd. I don't know who he is, just some guy. Nauseously optimistic, except I think
I guess that's probably about tomorrow's election in the States.
yes, it is. He's in
Yeah.
Boston.
Nauseously optimistic. That's a good way to say it.
I think so.
Yes, and yes, tomorrow, Kits and Cubs, of course, is the big day in the United States. We will be having a watch party, I believe, right, Mr. Grizzly?
Yeah, I think we can do something. I'm not sure what time you want to start. We can certainly put something together. I can't go for the full thing because I have a busy day the following day, and
Yeah.
it goes on for hours, as we well know.
Yes.
And but yeah, we can put something together. I don't know if you want to get a hold of Jake and Pinkerbell and the rest of the gang there that we had for the vice presidential debate.
Yep.
Maybe-
I'll ask around certain people's, a couple of Canadians too, given that we have
Yeah.
time zones and all that kind of stuff, and see if
Yeah,
they want to come in. Yeah. All right. Cool.
Well, I watched Jake's show for a little bit last night, and I said, "Oh yeah, we're definitely going to be drinking Tuesday evening."
Yes.
Because one is either to calm the nerves or the other is to celebrate. So it's
I know.
overcooked,
man.
undercooked.
I know. Okay, Mr. Grizzly, do we have a show?
If you want to bail out, go ahead. I have a couple of other things I wanted to discuss. Mostly how Fox has pivoted away from Trump. Have you noticed that? I know you got to get rolling, so by all means, if you need to
Okay.
roll. I want to continue just for maybe 10 or 15 more minutes.
Okay.
I did want to address that.
Okay, then hold on. Before you roll, just before we go, I want to show you this here, because this is one of the wildest things I saw over the course of the weekend.
Yeah,
Margaret Atwood tweeted out an editorial cartoon of people dressed in handmaids' outfits going through a voting booth and then shucking their uniforms
on the other side.
on the other side. And then you have some guy named Faces Out of Context that wrote, the author of that book used Islam, not Christianity, and a model for her imaginary world, as a model for her imaginary world. This is obviously true as it resembles Islamic culture and law and not Christian. And it's like, clearly this guy that claims to know more than the author of the book about what the book is about, tweeted that to the author of the book.
Yes.
Who clearly they are unaware of.
Clearly. Mansplained it.
Yes. Imagine Lord Jesus and all the deities in the universe, regardless of religion or no religion, please grant me the smug confidence of a man who can mansplain to Margaret Atwood what her book was based on.
Yeah.
Please. I would love that confidence.
Well, and
especially as I'm going to play curling.
Islam, right? Except you see that the dress that they wear is very reminiscent of a nun's habit.
Yes. And that they're coming out of the voting booth showing a lot of skin.
Yeah. And various levels of dress.
Because I'm sure all the Islamic faiths are well known for promoting that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, very much so.
Yeah. All right, kids and cubs, I'm off. Please enjoy some solo time with Mr. Grizzly. See you tomorrow.
We'll see you.
Bye.
I have a little thing I want to show you right away here. And this is something that came across my feed earlier, and I thought it was apropos because this boils down one of the key points of the U.S. election and what is going to be taking place. This is from a doorbell cam when somebody was canvassing in a gentleman's neighborhood, and he does not want to put up with what this woman is telling him. Have a watch.
Thank you. You kindly.
You want a baby sacrifice, okay.
Yeah, I vote for women's rights. I will stand up. I have daughters. I'll stand up for women all day. A man should not even have a choice about a woman's body. We should not even be able to vote yes or no. This should be up to them. Take on that on out of here. Yeah, well, I vote for women's rights. Y'all could go ahead and keep on moving.
That is what we need more of, because this is what fundamentally this election is about. Women's rights. A man should not have the right to vote over a woman's bodily autonomy, period. End of story. He's like, I vote for women's rights because I have daughters. And I've said it time and time again. You might not agree with abortion, but you can certainly agree with a woman's right to make that choice. And as a man, I don't think I have a say in what a woman should do with her body. Ever. Come on, man. When was the last time a man's body was legislated? Maybe we should, all men over 16 need to get vasectomies until they decide to have children so that no accidental pregnancies can occur. Maybe, you think? I just don't know anymore. Some days I literally sit here and scratch my head and put my hands in my face and be puzzled at the world. How can a woman vote against her own best interests? I don't understand that. You're voting against your own interests. And once they take that right away, what's next? If you think Gilead is impossible, if you think the Handmaid's Tale isn't possible, because, we have the checks and balances in order, remember that the Supreme Court of the United States of America has basically made the president a king who answers to no one. If Trump gets elected, give it time. He wants to deport 10 million people. He wants to cut all taxes. He wants to punch down on those who are not rich and wealthy and white and powerful. And he will do it. He absolutely will do it. That's just, man. Tomorrow was a very big day. And if you didn't read the heading at the beginning, Fox News pivoted away from Trump's rally the minute he started to spew falsehoods, because they've already paid a dear price and paid almost $1 billion in fines when it came to Dominion voting machines. So when he starts to spew lies, they cut away because they're afraid of getting sued again. And I'm sure Rupert Murdoch said, I'm not paying any more money. Don't let him lie on our programs. Get out of there. The moment he starts to spew lies, correct him or cut away. They cut away because they don't have the temerity or strength or intestinal fortitude to actually call him out on his lies, because they're cowardly and they know damn well if he gets into power, anybody who's ever crossed him is clearly in his crosshairs. So yeah. Tomorrow is a very big election in the United States of America, probably the biggest one that's ever taken place in the country's history. You can have a choice to our American viewers, our American friends, and people around the world watching. We need our American friends who live in other parts of the world who are casting ballots, and I think have already done so. We need them to go down the path of righteousness, the path of goodness, the path of forward. Because if you vote for Trump and he gets elected, I am telling you, it is only a matter of time before women's rights are stripped from them. Then gay rights are stripped away. And anybody who's ever crossed him clearly will be harmed. Now, they'll probably invoke, the 25th Amendment and pull him out of office and let J.D. Vance take over, because J.D. Vance will be a puppet for whoever wants to pay him. I mean, he called Trump Hitler, and now he's kissing his butt. So think of it however you may, but reach out to your American friends and colleagues, family members. Say, please do the right thing. Please vote for the future. Please vote for women's rights. Please consider that if you vote for Trump, you're taking the country backwards, because Trump will rob it blind. And that is it for today, my friends. Thanks for coming out. We really do appreciate your time. I appreciate everything you bring to the conversation and how you come in here every day, 5 days a week, I should say, and prop us up and say good things and keep the chat going and interesting. And we are all, yes, you're right, Mohan, people of color too will be harmed. Thank you. We all learn something from each other when we all contribute to the community. So, thanks again. I appreciate that. I really do. I want to thank our sponsors, Corvid Moon Publishing, The Misfit Mysteries, from Corvid Moon Publishing, of course, CanadianTerror.com, and The Pepper Master, who makes those wonderful pepper sauces that I love so much. What else have I got here for you? I got to put up the coffee link. You need to go get your coffee, and while you're there, buy me one. If you could, I'd appreciate it. It keeps me, with the AC, keeps the power going, keeps the hydro on, so that I can continue to help produce this show and keep the roof over my head, so that, I don't have to become a homeless person. I don't want to do that. That would suck. Where would I put all my stuff? I guess I'd have to sell it. I don't want to do that. You know how long it took to get all this stuff together? Like a lifetime, 56 years. Thanks for coming out. We really do appreciate you. If you want to, you can find us on Apple Podcasts. And if you go there, you can we request that you give us 5 stars or 1 star, whichever you place. Leave a comment. Let people know that you like the show. Help us promote it if you can. You can also find us at podpage.com/The True North Eager Beaver with a hyphen between each one of those words. That is where you will get our latest podcast, the audio version, when they are ready to go. In the meantime, if you can subscribe to our YouTube page, we'd greatly appreciate that. It's very important that you do so, because it's what helps us generate revenue. And we need revenue to keep this show going, as I said, because, I don't have really anything coming in. Yes, I do have a sales position, but it's a commission-only position. So until I close a deal, and some of these deals could be lucrative, right now I got nothing on the plate. So any way you can help out, I really do appreciate, because it's tough to do this with all the production work we're doing. with no money coming in. And I don't want to sound like I'm begging, but I'm not far off from that, to be honest with you. So thanks for helping out. We really do appreciate each and every one of you for showing up here on the Daily, 5 days a week. And I'm trying to just pull that down. Something's going on with the interface here this morning. It's not working properly. But if you want to go to coffee.com, you can do so. You can donate there. And in addition, you can also donate in Super Chat right here on YouTube or purchase a membership. And I realize we are a little behind on our membership benefits, such as additional videos and links to videos, along with a few other things we've got in the pipeline. We will start to update those as soon as possible. It's just been a busy time. And as you know, Mr. Beaver was quite ill last week. He was gone for basically 4 days. Down for the count, but he's back so we can start producing additional content for you. In the meantime, you folks take care. Have yourselves a wonderful day. And remember, it's very important that we support one another in times of need, in times of crisis, in times of sadness, in times of loss. We need to prop one another up. Yes, I will be delivering an ASMR this evening at 9 p.m. If you want to pop by, I'll send out a link on the Twitter. And YouTube will give you a notification. If you are a subscriber, you will get it. I will have that for 9 p.m. this evening, Eastern Standard Time, because we are now in Standard Time, no longer Daylight Time. All right, folks, you take care of yourselves. It's time to cue the cock.
You are listening to a True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated podcast. The True North Eager Beaver podcasts are proudly brought to you by our founding sponsors. The Misfit Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, your source for science fiction, fantasy, and cozy mysteries featuring a broad diversity of characters. CanadianTarot.com, their uniquely Canadian online eclectic tarot community. And The Peppermaster, hot pepper sauces made from farm-fresh ingredients to thrill your taste buds and expand your mind. We are grateful to the Crier Media Network for its support, Pete Jarvis for our artwork, and Paul Joseph Something for our opening and closing sequence music.
Oh, hey, I have a little clip I want to show you, just to remind you of, well, things. And this is a thing that you need to keep at top of mind, as I know there's an election in the United States of America that takes place tomorrow, and it will affect us. It definitely will. No matter the outcome, we will be affected by it because they're our largest trading partner. We are diversifying our trade with European communities because, well, you can't just rely upon one basket of eggs, right? But this is slightly different, yet varies along the same theme, and it's important to remember this come election time in Canada.
Body armor with white supremacist insignia, thousands of rounds of ammunition. In January, the convoy as they initially rolled across the country, there were convoy supporters who went on TV saying, "We've got guns, we'll stand up and we'll bring them out." When people tell you who they are, believe them. And while all of this was happening, we had a number of Conservative MPs welcoming the convoy to the city, handing out donuts, making excuses for the deplorable actions at memorials, encouraging them to stay. The member from Carleton saying he was proud of the convoy, that he stands with them. Convoy participants occupied the city, made it unbearable for residents. They harassed journalists, they harassed healthcare workers. There are reports of attempted arson, bomb threats to hospitals, plans to block airports and railways. Our borders were shut down, weapons were seized, attempted murder charges laid, and the member from Carleton, who wants to be the Prime Minister of Canada, stands with them. When people tell you who they are, believe them.
Solid advice. Remember that at the ballot box come October of 2025 or 2026. We'll see what happens. Thanks, PNC Bio. I will take a look at all of that. Drip. I'm not sure what a drip is, but I'll figure it out. I'm pretty good at figuring things out. That's kind of my milieu. All right. Take care, folks. We will see you à demain.